What it is, y'all, it's your old boy Pilk, and of course, we need to come back and talk about Wistoria Chapter 58, because this chapter is off the damn chain! Holy crap. So if you remember back to essentially Chapter 57 and everything leading up to this, we know that they are basically in front of, like, the big bad. This is the final boss we're kind of, sort of, as you'll see in a minute, dealing with here. This is super exciting. But before we get into it, there's one thing I got to mention real fast. And that is, of course, our sponsor, Rahm Roast by Root. You guys know I got to do this real quick. But I really do love this product. This is, I mean, you guys know for a long time I've been looking for a coffee sponsor. There's not a stream that goes by that I'm not drinking a cup of coffee, at least at some point. A lot of those late night streams, early morning recording sessions, things like that would not be able to happen without this. But they're not just coffee. There's a number of other products they sell, and you can check them all out down below. Use the link in the description and use code GAA15, that stands for Gaming Across America 15, for 15% off whatever's in the store. Literally everything out there. So shouts out to Root and especially the Rahm Roast. Thank you guys for sponsoring. Let's get back to the manga, shall we? So like I said, when we left off, they were right in front of the big bad, and that is, of course, Bale. That is basically this, like, reverse crucified type of situation here. I said before, and I'll say it again, it kind of reminds me of Lilith from Ava a little bit, except instead of one lance, it's like a whole mess of impalings going on here. So, and he's chained down and all this stuff. Like, this is, they call him the Lord of Destruction, and dude looks like he lives up to that name. Now, unfortunately, we're not going to get a huge amount of him himself in this chapter, because we don't necessarily need it. What's going to happen here? So they're all just basically taking him in. They're like, this is Bale, the key to the Great Barrier. Remember, like, in the sky, there's that big, like, I mean, basically incantation, keeping all that crap out there out. And this dude's the key to it all. He's the thing. He's pretty much everything happening there. And he's like, how could this be the key to anything? I can't believe it. And she's like, the monstrosity is a celestial host. Not the celestial host. I want to emphasize that wording there. A celestial host. Now, that could just be a translation situation there, but I'll explain what I mean by that here in just a few moments. But I want you to pay close attention to this panel here, because I thought she was crying. But you go a little bit further forward here, and you find out that's literally just blood. She's looking at this thing, and just every orifice in her body is just like, nope, reject, uncool, unsee, unfollow, unsubscribe. Don't do that. Actually, subscribe and follow. And like the video. But she's just like, nah. Not even her. Her, like, body, not even her subconscious mind. Her entire physical being is rejecting all of this. And they even mentioned it here in a little bit. They're like, our whole bodies, every fiber, every cell of our being is telling us, no, this is not good. Every drop of our blood in our bodies is rejecting its existence. Now, I want you to pay close attention to the imagery here, because you do see Will here kind of like rub his nose, and he's got like a little something going on. But Liana her veins are exploding. She's not doing well. And even Charles is starting to lose his crap. Like, he's got like a bead of it running down his chin. How are they going to animate this? Not that many years ago, they tried to do a remake of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and you couldn't even have Jotaro smoking a cigarette. How are you going to do this? This is crazy. But I can't wait to see it animated. It's going to be phenomenal. Oh my gosh. We already have season 2 and 3 in the works. If they don't get to this point, somebody has seriously screwed up. This is going to be awesome, and I really hope we get to see it. But yeah, he's like, can you feel the fear? Just like, basically, yeah, you feel it. Like, it's like I said, every cell in your body is rejecting its existence. He's like, that, children, is the power of Bale, the king of the celestial hosts. The king of the They talk about the celestial host, keeping out the celestial host. This dude's the king, the leader of them all. He's like, before you hangs the bearer of truth, the very being the magical world captured 5 centuries ago. Dude's been here for 500 years. Chilling. Like, waiting for his moment, basically. And he's like, witness as I release this, because that sounds like a good idea. You know what sounds great? This thing that just being in the same room as it is causing our bodies to just explode sounds like something I want to unleash on the world, right? Like, they were using logic up to this point. They're like, it's a fake sky. It's a false sky. What we want is reality. Sure, sounds like a great idea. You're standing before this thing, and your body is just falling apart. And you're like, you know what sounds like just a brilliant idea? Let's unleash that. Let's let that go. Let's let that run wild and do whatever it wants. Sounds awesome. Count me out, though. I'ma just need to find a new planet. Y'all got this. Wait, we don't have spaceships in this series. This is not this is a fantasy series, not a sci-fi. You know what? Let's keep it in place. Let's just not and say we didn't. In fact, you got a will down here that's basically saying that. Like, yeah, so what if we didn't? I mean, just think about it for a moment. What if we didn't? And maybe just told them we did. It's an option, right? I'll put that on the table and just say, hey, what if we not? And just say that we did. We walk outside. He's free. He's done. Just everybody go about your ways. Listen, call it a pacifist move, but I think that is probably better than what he's trying to pull off here. I'm just saying. So, amidst all this, Bale's like, bet, and just explodes all over Charles. And he's like, I guess the feeling's mutual. Except feeling was not mutual. Charles literally turns into this huge, hulking, giant beast. This is why I said Bale doesn't do much in this chapter. All he does is go! And Charles goes, full Swamp Thing. So, yeah. So he basically is Mega Swamp Thing. Look at him. He's just huge. What is this problem? Also, this panel hurts me so bad. It's really hard to see because I have it downsized right here. But if you look at the full-sized image, the full, 1360p image, they took time to draw a little dot for Kiki's cornhole. Dear manga artists of the world, why must you do these things? It's so unnecessary. It really is. So, lo and behold, someone put Charles in charge of our days and our nights, and he chose the worst possible option. He's now a monster. They're like, did they just turn him into a... Yeah, 1,000% Bale just was like, bet. Here, have a piece of my power. Have just a little tiny bit. Have a little taste, and let's see how you like it. And it immediately chooses violence. And it lashes out at Liana. And she's just like, do not hesitate, Will. But I want you to pay close attention here. Because at least in this chapter to me, it feels like it's mostly aiming for Liana. It kind of feels a little feral and a little less... some of the monsters up till now have kind of felt like they had a slight amount of free will. Maybe I'm just reading into it too much, but it feels like Charles is a little bit less than that. So Liana's has taken just the brunt of this, and Will's just kind of chilling there. Now, he won't be forever, but it does feel like it is mostly targeting Liana. And they mentioned something about it here later on, and I just wanted to point that out, because nothing's confirmed in this chapter, but I get the feeling that Amori's building up to something. And he's like, something's different. It's like, the monster's not at all like the ones we've fought before. I can feel the hatred I have towards it coursing through my entire body. A primal revulsion. In other words, something about Bale's presence makes this monster different. And, he's basically like, hesitate now and it'll turn all of us into monsters. In other words, pretty much, Bale's whole thing is like, cool, I will just reimagine the whole world in the visceral image that I see, in my head. And Liana unleashes, we've seen this before, basically her Hail Mary attack. And it lands in epic fashion. Look at that. Charles the Monster is Swiss cheese. He's instantly converted into a bunch of holes. And it looks like our heroes have kind of won the day. I mean, that is how you go come back from that, right? Dude is just basically he is more whole than he is monster now. Except he starts regenerating. He basically just grows back. Okay, so it's not an option, I see. And then it returns fire. Look at all these kind of like, it's got its own like spells and things like that it's about to launch off. And it actually reminds me a lot of the ones that that Will had to deal with back in like the first few chapters. When it was, what's the old boy's name? Anyway, the Snape-like character. He, it looks like that turned up to 11. Now, what's interesting here is, and Liana points this out, she's like, how is it able to cast such a powerful how is it able to cast such powerful magic with just a scream? There wasn't even an incantation. It was like, yeah, that thing's got insanely strong spells, and it didn't have to incant them. It just kind of went roar. It's like, imagine a Tyrannosaurus Rex wielding the powers of Merlin. Yeah, bad choices right there, right? It's not a great look. Like, if we allow this affront to mages to all life leave this place, everything is doomed. Our world is doomed. And that is where the chapter leaves off. Now, I'm going to do a little speculation here, because you notice, like I said, Will is even in this panel, Will is not bleeding. Now, Liana's kind of like, the bleeding has subsided a little bit. She's definitely, not as bad off as she was in the beginning of the chapter. Will doesn't have even a scratch on him. The monster is targeting her. And they did mention back here that it's converting mages into monsters. So non-magical people might not be affected. And I think that's going to be the key. That's what's going to make Will, obviously, the hero of the day once again. I'm not mad about it. I'm just pointing that out. I think that's where this is going. But again, Amori can do anything he wants. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention here, while this feels like the precipice of the story, like this kind of does feel like the end. We've met the king of the celestial host. I want to emphasize a few things here. Number one, first and foremost, they said a celestial host. Well, he's the king. There's nothing saying that he can't just be like, oh, you beat me, you won the battle, not the war, I'm out. It is what it is. Or they reseal him or whatever. I kind of get the feeling it's not going to be that easy. Amori as an author is really good at making you feel like, OMFG, this is the end of days. And then by the end of it, you're like, what do you mean that was just a scratch? Like, Amori is fantastic at this. If you want a great example of that, go read the Danmachi light novels. Like, you could watch season 1 of the anime, and by the time they are basically dealing with the Goliath and all that, you're like, how does it get bigger and better than this? And then you get to like season 4, and it's like, oh my god. So, and then he's got 20, I think at this point, over 30 novels in that series, just in like obviously prequels and then side stories and things like that. So we really could go anywhere. This actually could from here balloon into something even bigger and greater, and they did kind of weave that web. So let me know what you guys thought in the comments. As always, make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't already. We've got another month to wait until we get the next chapter, and I'm sorry it took me a few days to get to this one, but like, share, all the good stuff. Make sure you guys check out Root Products down below with the code and use JA15 at checkout to save 15%, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.